What if I told you that there are certain things we wear, not just on our bodies, but in our hearts and minds, that open the door to forces that steal, kill, and destroy? They are invisible powers at work, and they are attracted to certain things we wear, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The power of what we wear is not just in fabric and fashion. It's in the spirit behind it. Today we are going to take a deep look into 8 things that, when worn, can draw negative and destructive forces into our lives. But hear me now. It's never too late to change, to turn things around, and to begin wearing what brings you peace, power, and purpose. Stop wearing the spirit of victimhood. The spirit of victimhood is one of the most dangerous things we can wear because it robs us of our power. Victimhood is not a physical garment you can take off at the end of the day, but it is a mindset. A belief that your circumstances define you, that your past controls your future, and that you have no ability to change your life. When you wear the spirit of victimhood, you surrender your potential and your purpose. You begin to believe that you are at the mercy of external forces, whether it's your upbringing, your environment, or the people who have wronged you. This mindset attracts demons of defeat, hopelessness, and despair. Every time you choose to see yourself as a victim, you align yourself with forces that seek to keep you down, trapped in your past and unable to move forward. A victim mentality keeps you stuck, preventing you from experiencing the fullness of the life you were created for. The truth is, you are not what has happened to you. You are not the sum of your failures, your mistakes, or the betrayals others have inflicted upon you. You are the sum of your choices, your strength, and the potential that still resides in you. Consider the story of someone like James. James grew up in a broken home, with a father who abandoned him and a mother who struggled to make ends meet. From an early age, James was told that he would never amount to anything, that his life was destined to be a series of failures. He grew up believing that his circumstances dictated his future. Every time he encountered difficulty or faced setbacks, he saw it as confirmation of what he had been told, that he was a victim of his past. He wore this identity like a badge of honor, justifying his failures and excuses on everything that had gone wrong in his life. He blamed the system, his upbringing, and the people around him for his struggles. However, one day, James realized something life-changing. He was never going to move forward until he stopped wearing the mask of victimhood. When James made the bold decision to stop identifying as a victim and to take full responsibility for his life, everything began to shift. He understood that while he could not change the past, he had the power to change his future. He began to take ownership of his choices, his actions, and his mindset. No longer did he see himself as helpless. He started to view every challenge as an opportunity to rise, grow, and transform. This transformation was not immediate. It was not easy. But slowly, James found his confidence again. He started taking action, small steps at first, but they were steps in the right direction. And as he moved forward, he began attracting people and opportunities that helped him grow. His life became a testimony that no matter where you come from, you are not defined by your past. You are defined by your choices, your resilience, and your refusal to remain stuck. A victim mentality keeps you in a perpetual state of helplessness. It stifles your creativity, limits your growth, and makes you dependent on others for validation and change. But the moment you shed the spirit of victimhood, you open yourself up to a life of empowerment, possibility, and transformation. You take your power back. Stop wearing unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is like a weight that you carry with you every single day. It is not a weight that others can see, but it is the heaviest burden that can destroy your peace, your relationships, and your potential. When you choose not to forgive, you are choosing to wear a garment of anger, bitterness, and resentment that festers and consumes you from the inside. This garment weighs you down, causing emotional and spiritual paralysis, and it invites demonic forces of division, destruction, and pain into your life. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to the person who wronged you. It is a gift you give to yourself. When you forgive, you free yourself from the chains of the past. You choose not to be defined by the wounds others have inflicted upon you. Unforgiveness is a choice to remain stuck in your hurt, allowing it to define your present and limit your future. It prevents you from healing, and instead it keeps you tied to the person or situation that hurt you. Think about someone like Lisa, who spent years in the grip of unforgiveness. Lisa had been deeply hurt by her father, who had abandoned her as a child. For years she carried the pain, the anger, and the bitterness of his absence. Every time she thought of him, her heart would ache with resentment. The feeling of betrayal became a constant companion. This unforgiveness affected every area of her life, her relationships, her career, and even her health. She was constantly on edge, unable to experience joy because the pain of the past was always there, lurking just beneath the surface. But one day, Lisa realized something profound. She had been letting the person who hurt her control her life. By holding on to unforgiveness, she was giving that person power over her peace. The unforgiveness was poisoning her. And the only way she could set herself free was to forgive. Forgiving her father didn't mean excusing his actions or saying they didn't matter. It meant releasing the hold that anger and bitterness had on her life. Lisa chose to forgive not for him, but for herself. When Lisa let go of her unforgiveness, something incredible happened. She felt lighter, freer, and at peace. Her relationships improved, her outlook on life changed, and her health even began to improve. Forgiveness is a liberating force that opens the door to healing, growth, and restoration. It is a conscious decision to stop letting the pain of the past control your present and future. Every time you choose to forgive, you are choosing to break the chains of bitterness and anger. You are choosing to walk in freedom, to take back your peace, and to invite love and healing into your heart. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the power that the hurt has over you. It is the key that unlocks the door to your transformation, your peace, and your ability to move forward. When you wear the garment of forgiveness, you invite peace, love, and freedom into your life. You stop giving power to the past and start living fully in the present. Unforgiveness, on the other hand, attracts demons of bitterness, anger, and resentment, which keep you trapped in a cycle of hurt and pain. But when you choose to forgive, you break the chains and step into the future that was always meant for you. Stop wearing fear. Fear is a silent but powerful force that paralyzes your potential. It creeps into your thoughts, takes root in your heart, and holds you captive, keeping you from the life you are meant to live. Fear is often irrational, but its effects are very real. It robs you of the ability to make decisions, to take risks, and to step out of your comfort zone. When you wear the spirit of fear, you are essentially choosing to remain stuck in a state of uncertainty and inaction, allowing fear to dictate your future. Fear makes you question everything. It tells you that you're not good enough, that you can't succeed, and that every opportunity is a trap waiting to fail. Fear can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you dwell on it, the more it holds you back. It keeps you from making the necessary moves that would lead you to success, peace, and fulfillment. This spirit of fear attracts demons of doubt, insecurity, and indecision, and it keeps you trapped in the illusion of safety while robbing you of the fullness of your life. Take the story of someone like David, who lived with the fear of failure for years. He had the skills, the vision, and the passion, but every time he thought about taking the first step, fear would grip him. Fear of losing money, fear of rejection, and fear of not being good enough haunted him. He would replay scenarios in his mind. What if the business failed? What if no one believed in him? What if he lost everything? This constant fear paralyzed him. He became stuck in a cycle of planning without action, wishing without doing. The longer David waited, the more his fear grew. He didn't realize that by letting fear control him, he was keeping himself trapped in a life of mediocrity. He was not living to his fullest potential. One day, David realized that fear was only a barrier he had created in his own mind. He acknowledged that he might fail, but he also recognized that failure was not the end. It was a part of the journey. With that realization, he made a bold decision to confront his fear head on. He took the first step, and though the journey was not without challenges, it was filled with growth, learning, and triumphs that he would have never experienced if he had stayed paralyzed by fear. When you stop wearing fear, you take back the power to create your future. You step into the unknown with courage, knowing that the challenges you face are merely stepping stones, not obstacles. Fear may never fully disappear, but when you confront it and move forward despite it, you build resilience and strength. The world opens up to you in ways that it never could while you are hiding behind the cloak of fear. Fear does not protect you. It keeps you from living the life you are meant to live. The moment you shed fear, you step into your true potential. You become the person who is not bound by what ifs, but who moves boldly into what could be. Stop wearing negativity. Negativity is like a cloud that hovers over every part of your life. It darkens your thinking, clouds your judgment, and distorts your perspective on everything around you. When you wear negativity, you see the world through a lens of lack and limitation. It's the belief that things will never get better, that you'll always struggle, and that you are somehow doomed to failure. Negativity doesn't just affect your mindset. It affects your actions, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. Negativity is a spirit that invites demons of frustration, confusion, and disappointment. The more you focus on what's wrong, the more wrong you seem to see. The more you complain about your circumstances, the more circumstances arise to validate your complaints. You attract what you focus on. And if you focus on the negative, think of someone like Michael, who woke up every morning already expecting the worst. No matter how many blessings he had, he would find a way to see the glass as half empty. His work, his relationships, even his health seemed to be overshadowed by his negative outlook. When things went wrong, he would immediately assume it was a sign of bigger problems ahead. Every setback was a catastrophe. He didn't realize that his negative thinking was clouding his ability to see opportunities or to appreciate the good in his life. For years, Michael found himself in a cycle of constant dissatisfaction. He had a decent job, a loving family, and good friends, but none of that mattered because he was always focused on what wasn't right. His negative attitude pushed people away, closed doors of opportunity, and prevented him from finding joy in anything. It wasn't until Michael made a conscious decision to shift his focus that things started to change. He began to look for the good in every situation, even the challenging ones. He started practicing gratitude, acknowledging the small wins in his day. Slowly, the negativity lifted, and with it came clarity and peace. Michael started to notice the blessings in his life that had always been there. His relationships improved, his work became more fulfilling, and his overall health improved because he was no longer consumed by negative thoughts. Negativity can keep you from seeing opportunities right in front of you. When you focus on what's wrong, you blind yourself to what's right. But when you choose to wear positivity, you attract light, peace, and possibility. A positive mindset opens doors where negativity would have closed them. A person with a positive outlook doesn't deny challenges, but approaches them with the belief that there is always a solution. They are empowered by the thought that no matter what happens, they will overcome it. Stop wearing negativity. The moment you choose to wear gratitude, optimism, and hope, your entire world begins to shift. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now appear within grasp. Relationships that were strained begin to heal. And most importantly, you begin to see yourself not as a victim of your circumstances, but as the creator of your future. Stop wearing gossip. Gossip is a powerful force that destroys trust. sows division and poisons relationships. It is the invisible garment we put on when we choose to speak negatively about others behind their backs or when we indulge in rumors. Gossip may seem harmless at first. It can feel like a way to bond with others, a way to share information, or simply a way to vent frustrations. But in reality, gossip is a demon that divides, isolates, and brings nothing but chaos into your life. When you wear gossip, you create an atmosphere of distrust. You become part of the problem, not the solution. Even if you think you're only participating in harmless conversation, you are fueling the spread of negativity that ultimately damages everyone involved. Gossip thrives in environments where people feel the need to tear others down to lift themselves up. It seeks to destroy the reputations of others and causes rifts between people, often without them even realizing it. Take the story of a workplace I once encountered. A place where gossip ran rampant. Every morning, the office was filled with whispers and judgment. People spoke about others' mistakes, their failures, and their personal lives. Instead of fostering unity, these conversations created an atmosphere of fear, insecurity, and anxiety. The employees became more concerned with protecting themselves from rumors than with doing their best work. Over time, the productivity of the team dropped and the overall morale of the workplace sank. The culture of gossip had slowly poisoned what could have been a thriving environment for growth and collaboration. But when one employee, let's call her Maria, decided to stop participating in the gossip, the whole dynamic began to shift. At first, Maria found herself isolated as people tried to draw her into their conversations, but she stood firm. She chose to focus on encouraging her colleagues, on finding solutions to problems rather than pointing fingers, and on creating a space where trust could be restored. Slowly but surely, her example began to inspire others. The atmosphere of the office began to change from one of suspicion to one of collaboration. People started working together rather than against each other. The gossip that once consumed the workplace gradually dissipated as people chose to speak life rather than sow discord. When you stop wearing gossip, you take the first step toward healing broken relationships and creating an environment of peace and trust. The words we speak have the power to either build or destroy. Choosing to speak positively, to defend others, and to refrain from passing judgment transforms not only your relationships, but also the entire atmosphere around you. Gossip brings nothing of value. It only takes away, leaving behind distrust, pain, and division. By choosing to put on the garment of kindness, integrity, and respect, you invite healing into your life and the lives of others. Stop wearing pride. Pride is a dangerous garment to wear because it deceives you into thinking you are invincible, self-sufficient, and above others. It wraps itself around you in subtle ways, often disguised as confidence or self-respect, but its true nature is arrogance and self-reliance. When you wear pride, you place yourself on a pedestal, convinced that you are above correction, help, or the need for others. Pride isolates you from growth, from learning, and from the grace that others are meant to offer you. Pride invites the demons of arrogance and stubbornness into your life. It blinds you to your weaknesses and prevents you from seeing the value in others. The truth is, no one is perfect. We all have room to grow, to learn, and to improve. Yet when pride takes hold of your heart, you reject help, you dismiss others' opinions, and you are unwilling to accept responsibility for your actions. Pride tells you that you are always right, that you never need to change, and that you can rely only on your own strength. Think about someone like Richard, a successful executive with a reputation for always being in control. Richard had built a successful career, but along the way, pride began to creep in. He became so confident in his own abilities that he stopped listening to others. He rejected advice, ignored constructive criticism, and pushed away those who disagreed with him. His pride led him to make decisions that in hindsight were poor choices. Relationships with his colleagues deteriorated and his ability to lead effectively diminished. Richard was trapped in the illusion that he could handle everything on his own, and that belief ultimately led to his downfall. But one day, Richard faced a crisis that forced him to confront his pride. It was only after losing his job and experiencing the full consequences of his arrogance that he realized the depth of his mistake. He humbled himself, sought counsel from others, and made the decision to put aside his pride. It wasn't easy, but over time, Richard rebuilt his career and relationships by allowing others to walk alongside him and by learning from his past mistakes. Pride may make you feel strong in the moment, but it will eventually lead to destruction. Humility, on the other hand, invites favor, growth, and wisdom into your life. When you wear humility, you become teachable, open to feedback, and aware of your limitations. You build deeper, more authentic relationships, and you gain the respect of others, not because you demand it, but because you lead with integrity and grace. Pride creates walls between you and those who could help you. Humility breaks down those walls, allowing you to learn, grow, and experience the fullness of your potential. When you choose to take off the garment of pride and wear humility instead, you open the door to greater opportunities, deeper relationships, and a life that is far more fulfilling. True strength lies not in your ability to stand alone, but in your willingness to lean on others and to grow through your challenges. Wear humility and you will attract wisdom, guidance, and favor into your life. Stop wearing envy. Envy is a silent killer. It's a cloak you wear that may seem harmless, but it will slowly poison your soul. Envy feeds off comparison. It makes you focus on what others have, what they've achieved, and what they possess. The moment you start comparing your life to others, you begin to wear the burden of envy. Instead of celebrating someone else's success, you feel threatened, angry, and dissatisfied with your own life. This constant comparison draws you into a cycle of negativity, bitterness, and self-doubt. When you wear envy, you invite demons of discontent, jealousy, and resentment into your life. You become consumed with the need to keep up, to outdo others, and to prove your worth. Envy is like a fire that never stops burning. It eats away at your peace, your joy, and your ability to appreciate the blessings in your own life. The truth is, you cannot truly enjoy the fullness of your own life when you are focused on the life of someone else. Think about someone like Jasmine, who constantly envied her friend Amanda's success. Amanda had a thriving business, a beautiful family, and the kind of life Jasmine dreamed of. Instead of looking inward and focusing on her own path, Jasmine's thoughts were consumed by envy. She found herself comparing her achievements, her relationships, and her life to Amanda's. This envy festered into frustration, and over time, Jasmine became resentful. She stopped enjoying her own accomplishments, no matter how much progress she made, because it never seemed to measure up to what Amanda had. She began to criticize Amanda's success, even though deep down she knew the problem wasn't Amanda. It was her own inability to see her worth. Jasmine didn't realize that as long as she wore envy, she was holding herself back from growing into the person she was meant to be. Envy blinded her to her own strengths, and it kept her trapped in a state of comparison. It wasn't until she took a step back and focused on her own growth that things began to shift. Jasmine started to focus on what she could do to improve her business, her life, and her relationships without constantly measuring them against others. The moment Jasmine stopped wearing envy was the moment she began to thrive. She realized that everyone's journey is different, and her path did not need to mirror anyone else's. Envy had been preventing her from seeing the unique opportunities and blessings in her life. When you stop wearing envy, you free yourself to embrace your own journey, your own success, and your own happiness. Instead of measuring yourself against others, you focus on your own growth and your own goals. This shift in mindset is liberating. It allows you to walk confidently in your own purpose without the constant burden of comparison. When you stop wearing envy, you stop giving power to feelings of inadequacy. You start to celebrate others' successes because you realize that someone else's greatness does not diminish your own potential. You unlock the power of gratitude and contentment, which opens the door to even greater success. Envy robs you of the peace and joy that come from truly appreciating your own life, your own achievements, and your own path. Stop wearing self-doubt. Self-doubt is the enemy of progress. It's the whisper in your ear that says, you're not good enough, you'll never make it, or you're not capable. It's the internal battle that holds you back from pursuing your dreams, from seizing opportunities, and from becoming the person you were meant to be. Self-doubt is a crippling garment because it ties you to fear, insecurity, and uncertainty. When you wear self-doubt, you live in a constant state of hesitation and second-guessing. You become paralyzed by the belief that you are not worthy of success, happiness, or achievement. Self-doubt doesn't just stop at thoughts. It infiltrates your actions and behaviors. It keeps you from taking risks, from trying new things, and from stepping out of your comfort zone. It causes you to sabotage your own potential because deep down you believe you will fail before you even try. This spirit of self-doubt attracts demons of fear, insecurity, and low self-esteem. It keeps you from ever fully embracing the greatness that lies within you. Consider someone like Michael, who dreamed of writing a book. He had a passion for storytelling, but every time he sat down to write, self-doubt crept in. Who would want to read my book, he would think. I'm not a real writer. I don't have the skills. These thoughts kept him stuck in the planning stage, never putting pen to paper. He spent years imagining his book, but never took the first step to make it a reality. His self-doubt held him hostage, preventing him from seeing his dream come true. One day, Michael reached a breaking point. He realized that self-doubt had stolen years of his life, and it was keeping him from fulfilling his potential. He made the decision to confront it. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but Michael began to write every day. Even when the doubts were loud in his mind, he pushed through the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the fear. Over time, he finished his book, and it became a success. Michael learned that self-doubt is just a lie that will always be there to hold you back unless you confront it. The truth is, self-doubt is a choice. The moment you stop wearing it, you open the door to possibility. You allow yourself to take risks, to try, to fail, and to try again. When you stop wearing self-doubt, you embrace your own worth and potential. You begin to trust that you have everything you need to succeed, and you develop the courage to take the first step even when you're unsure. You stop letting doubt control your actions and start letting faith in yourself guide you. When you choose to let go of self-doubt, you take ownership of your journey. You start to believe in your abilities, in your dreams, and in your capacity to overcome challenges. Self-doubt is not who you are. It is simply a barrier to your greatness. Let go of it, and you begin to walk confidently into the future you've always dreamed of.